The 1v1 interview series is a production of the Boss Rush network of podcasts. Visit bossrush.net to listen to our podcast and read our articles, game reviews, and more. You can also follow us on Twitter at Boss Rush Network to stay up to date with our content. Thank you for listening. Hello everyone, and welcome to 1v1 with Boss Rush Network. I'm your host, Celeste Roberts. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Adam, also known as Hyrule Gamer, a Zelda theorist and content creator on YouTube. And you just got an award from YouTube, Adam.
Yeah, it should be in the shot. It's like laying on my bed. It's the silver play button for 100,000 subscribers, which I'm still wrapping my head around that number today. Like, that's a crazy number, but a very proud achievement. My family's proud of me, which is like the best feeling.
Well, Adam, what would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, like your hobbies, anything you'd like to share with people?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we already established that like I am a Zelda fan, if it wasn't obvious. You can see the Highland Shield, the Octorok. I even have a Zelda necklace on. I don't know how visible that is, but it's really cool. Yeah, Zelda's like the main thing I'll tell someone about myself if they ever say, what are you interested in? It's instantly Zelda. And from there, if they say, oh, that's cool, I'm like, I like you. But I guess outside of that, because I'll probably end up talking more about Zelda later on, I'm very into fishing, which a lot of people seem to be surprised at for some reason, but I really love my fishing. I love football, or I guess soccer in America. That's been something I've been into from a young age, and yeah, that's me, I guess.
So what is your favorite soccer team?
Well, they're a small one. They're from like where I'm from, and their name's Sterling Albion. They're maybe like their stadium maybe has 2,000 seats or something. It's like a very like town level football team. It's not big, but it's what I love. That's what I grew up with, so yeah.
Did you play soccer growing up?
From the ages of around 14 to 17 I did, and that was for another team from that area, but I think I must have stopped that around the age of 17, so that was a little while ago, but I enjoyed it. It just wasn't something I was going to pursue, but it was good doing it.
That's awesome. And I've seen your fishing pictures. That has to be so relaxing.
Yeah, it's like, especially when like you do something like content creation, at least for me personally, it is very time consuming, and a lot of the time you're sitting at a desk all day. It's not something where like I'm taking a camera out filming myself. I'm just sitting in my room playing Zelda, writing about it, recording about it, editing about it, and it's just everything's here, right here. So fishing's like a really good experience because you're out for the whole day most of the time, especially by water, which is really relaxing. And yeah, it can be done on my own with friends. Either's relaxing, so it's good to get out for long periods of time when you're working inside. Because I don't have like a workplace I go to. I just wake up and work here, so it's good to get out.
Oh, I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah.
Pretty jealous. That's awesome.
It has its perks.
So is your Zelda channel your full-time job?
Yeah, it is. Surprisingly, I was asked this question twice today, which is just coincidental, but I went full-time with it in maybe early 2020, and ever since then it's been a sort of steady progression of being full-time. Like, I'd been making sort of a part-time wage on it in 2019, but it was always 1 month would be good, 1 month would maybe be like nothing, for example, in terms of like money, which at the time it wasn't really important to me. But as 2020 came, it started becoming to the point where it's like, I can do this full time. So for around a year and a half, I've been full time, which has honestly been the best experience of my life. It's the most fun I've ever had.
Oh, that warms my heart because
yeah.
I'm sure you know of people who have to go to quote unquote a traditional
yeah,
job and don't love it.
Yeah. I always like joke to my friends, and like I tell people this story because I've been for like one proper traditional job interview in my life, and it was actually McDonald's, believe it or not, and they had told me, no, you seem a bit too immature, which at the time maybe they were right, but I always like look back on that and it's like, maybe if I had got that job, this would have never happened, at least as soon as it did. So yeah, I think it's a good way of looking at like rejection isn't necessarily a bad thing sometimes, because I was rejected and I was like, oh, I can't even get a job at McDonald's, but like it led to better things within like a year, so it was a good lesson.
Wow, and that's a really good outlook too, because sometimes the plans we have for ourselves don't work out, but something
Yeah,
better comes along.
yeah, that's exactly what it was. Like my plan was, let's get a retail job, do that while I like look for something to do in school. It didn't work out that way, but it's led to this, and this is like 100 times better than I could have imagined that. So
And I enjoy your channel for its, I don't know if random, I like the random topics. I don't know if that
yeah,
some people might take offense to that term, but I like the little niche details
yeah,
in the
yeah,
Zelda series.
they're always fun. It's different, and different's good to me. I like always tell people that. If they always say like, oh, my like content's a bit different, I'm like, that's a good thing. Like, be different. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what separates people from the
Yeah.
rest. It makes
You'll fall into a crowd of genericness, which isn't always a bad thing, but it's also good to be different at times. Like I like a fair mix of the standard content and then different things. Different's what makes you you. So that's always good to have.
So, Adam, what are some of your earliest memories with video
Mm-hmm.
games? Did you start with Zelda?
As far as I can remember, yes, actually. I was around 4, I believe, and the earliest memory I can remember is sitting on my parents' bed with my dad, watching him play Ocarina of Time on the N64, which is like a great early memory to have, because I look back on that when I play Ocarina of Time, and there's just certain scenes which I'll vaguely remember, like he'd like give me the controller for 5 minutes to like give it a try, like even if it was just riding Epona for like 5 minutes. And whenever I do that, it like brings me back to that moment, and it's like a really special thing, because that is, as far as I can remember, the earliest moment of video games for me, watching the N64. So yeah.
Oh, did you play anything else besides Zelda, or have you played a lot?
I played a little bit of Super Nintendo games. There's one called Zombies Ate My Neighbors, which was really fun. But other than that, I got hooked on Zelda from really early age, because that was also one of my dad's like favorite video games, and still is today. Like we talk about it quite a lot. But it was mostly that.
That's awesome.
Mario was sort of in there, but like I never got into that until later years. But yeah, it was mostly Zelda and some like random indie games on the SNES. So yeah.
So many series out there, but there just isn't enough time to play them all.
Yeah, yeah. Especially as a child, like I only had the capacity for one or two. Like I would lose interest in other ones quickly.
Yeah.
So
Well, do you have any favorite moments in video game history in your lifetime that you remember?
probably the release of the Nintendo Wii. And I feel like some people might take that as a little bit of a weird one. But for me, the Nintendo Wii sort of opened my view on how video games could be played because of the whole motion concept. And even though it wasn't perfect at first, it did open my eyes to like video games don't have to just be like holding a controller, pressing a button. It can be making a movement. Or I think the DS had it as well, where you could blow into a microphone for some controls. And those sort of things, Nintendo were really good at innovation, and they still are today. I mean, the Switch, for example. But those sort of things that they did with the Wii really opened my eyes. Especially when playing Mario Kart, they had like a little Nintendo Wii controller, which you could slot it into. And it would basically be like an attachment, so it makes you feel like you're holding a steering wheel. And that really opened my eyes, because I was just used to a GameCube controller or something at that time. And suddenly it was like, you feel like you're driving. Because you used to get that thing playing like racing games, holding a controller where you'd like turn to like pretend you're turning. And I don't know, the Wii just opened my eyes. I've said that about 5 times, but yeah, it really opened my eyes to video games.
That was a big deal when the Wii came out.
Yeah, it was huge.
I still love some of the games on there. I admit that it is a little bit easier for me to play with when I don't have to sync it or calibrate the Wiimote.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, so you've told us about your history with The Legend of Zelda, but do you have any favorite games, or are they all your favorite? Maybe that's the correct answer.
My favorite Zelda game would be Twilight Princess. And I can't really explain why, it's just so like Ocarina of Time was my favorite for a while, but then I played Twilight Princess and that became my favorite. And I think it's because Twilight Princess is almost like an, I don't want to say an updated version of Ocarina of Time, but it has a very similar format in terms of you do an introduction, you do 3 dungeons, you learn a sort of story plot, you do some more dungeons, and then you get to the final boss. And both games kind of follow that same pattern. And I think Twilight Princess just came off as a more realistic version of Ocarina of Time to me, and from that I was attached. It was also at the time I played it, I was in a sort of a little bit of an edgy phase, and that game had a little bit of edge to it, a little bit of darkness. Link was like a cool teenager going through the twilight, and I was like, I want that to be me. But yeah, I sort of got attached to that game. But I would give special mention to the Minish Cap. That's my favorite 2D game, just because it's adorable, it's fun, it's cheery. It's not too long as well, which is something I like in 2D games, personally. But yeah, Twilight Princess and Minish Cap would be up there for me.
I think those are my 2 favorites in 3D and 2D respectively as well.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I mean, I know the graphics aren't the same as the graphics of today, but at the time, Twilight Princess's graphics really blew my mind.
Yeah, they were, at that point, all I was used to was like the polygons of the N64, and that leap to realism seemed like it was actually real, which was a really cool feeling. Yeah.
Now, do you have a favorite sidekick in the Zelda series?
That's a tough one, because I always say Midna because Twilight Princess, but I also have like an underlying love for Linebeck from Phantom Hourglass, the guy that goes on the ship with you. I can't really explain why, he just has like a sort of personality, which almost reminds me of my grandfather a little, because I used to go fishing with him when I was young, and sometimes we'd go in a boat, sometimes we'd by the water, and it almost reminds me of that for some reason. I know that sounds a little bit silly, but like, I think it's wholesome, I guess.
I think that's really sweet, and Phantom Hourglass doesn't get enough love among
Yeah,
fans.
it's a really underrated game.
I actually probably can't see it, but I have a poster.
Oh yeah, I see it. That's like the cover art, I think.
Yeah, I think it was from Club Nintendo before they became
when that was
Nintendo
like
Rewards.
still a thing. I remember that when it was a big thing.
Yes, I remember that, and I was like, I can't pass up on this one.
Yeah.
And gosh, Zelda games are so special. Now, are there any that you don't really care for, or have you played all of them? I guess we should start with.
I've not played all of them. Should I like list the ones I haven't played, or?
Yeah, sure. If you want to share.
I haven't played the second one. I've maybe played it for 5 minutes, but I wouldn't really count that as playing it. The second one, Adventure of Link, I've never really touched. I've never played either of the Oracle games because I never really had the opportunity. And I believe that's it. The Oracle games and Spirit Tracks. I've never played Spirit Tracks. So yeah, those 4 are the only 4 I've never played. But out of the ones I have, the one I would least care for, and some people are going to hate me for this, is Link's Awakening. I just couldn't get into it. It wasn't for me. And I tried the remake on the Switch, and I thought, oh, this looks new, updated, refreshing. Still couldn't really get into it. I don't know what it is. It's maybe just the storyline I'm not a fan of, but I don't know. I still like the game. People confuse that with, like, they'll ask me, what Zelda game do you hate? And it's like, I don't hate any Zelda game. It's just my least favorite. But
yeah. You might not be inclined to pick it up every year and replay it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely not.
I never played the original Link's Awakening. I've just played the Switch remake.
That's fair.
And I'm kind of with you. I don't know if it's because I'm spoiled to Breath of the Wild and Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess. Now, the first one I ever played was A Link to the Past. That was my first Zelda game.
That was a really good one. I played that on not the Super Nintendo, but they had a Game Boy version which came out years later, I think. I played it on that. Yeah.
Yes, they ported it with 4 Swords.
Yeah, 4 Swords. That's the first time I played A Link to the Past. And being a child, I didn't know that it was originally on the SNES, and I was like, oh, I'd be like seeing this new game to my friends. But in reality, it was just I'd only just got it, and I thought it was new, and everyone was like laughing at me. But how are you meant to know as a kid?
You didn't know, and
Yeah.
I remember when the Game Boy Advance started porting over games like that, and a lot of the Mario games and Street Fighter. I was really excited because I grew up with the NES and the Super Nintendo. So
Yeah.
and at the time we didn't have, well, if there were emulators, I didn't know about them.
Yeah, I think they were a sort of like unknown thing at the time. Like that would be like your typical like computer hacker who knows about stuff like that at the time.
Yeah, really, really sophisticated people with skills that I don't have.
Yeah, that was basically the same for me. I would not know how to do that at the time.
That was no. So how long have you been posting content on YouTube?
I uploaded my first video on this channel in 2016, January 2016, I believe. But I have had prior channels to that, but they're all just sort of those ones where like you're at that age where like you're just making videos for fun. I mean, I say that like these aren't fun, but it was more just like I was running around with a phone camera, uploading random things around my village, mindlessly, I would say. But I uploaded my first video on this channel in 2016, so 5 years ago now? 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what inspired you to start making Zelda content?
It's a combination of things. I actually spoke to my father about this recently because he asked me the same question last week. Part of it is seen, like I was fascinated with the transition between like traditional TV and YouTube being a thing, and I was also fascinated with Zelda at the time. So obviously, like I'd looked up Zelda content and I'd seen stuff like I believe it was Zelda Master. He was like one of the oldest Zelda channels doing his Let's Plays. And I got really into them at the time. And from there I sort of like got it into my head, I can do stuff like this. Like originally I wanted to be a Let's Play channel. It never worked out that way, but originally that's what inspired me. But then I sort of began to get this fascination with how the lore of a Zelda game is similar to the lore of real life, like ancient Egypt, for example. Like I was always into history, and learning that Zelda had its own history got me into looking into like, oh, how is this connected? How is that connected? How can this exist in this time frame? And it was just like basically the same feeling of fantasy adventure. This was like fantasy history to me, and knowing that other people were starting to do this, I was like, I can do that too. And it just developed like a lot of things do, like a lot of interests. But yeah, it was mostly inspired by Zelda Master. I should give mention to I don't know if you know the channel, but Smosh. They're a really old channel now.
Oh
yeah,
my goodness,
I was like
Adam,
a huge Smosh fan.
Yes, Anthony and Ian.
Yeah, like way back in the like 2010 to maybe 2014, at least for me personally, I was huge. They were like my favorite channel. I remember when they were the most subscribed to at one point as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yes. So, have you ever watched their videos from about 2005, 2006?
Every now and then, like sorry, not every now and like occasionally I've seen them pop up, but I've never really watched them much.
Because that's when I was in high school at the time, and I remember their video where they sing the Pokemon song.
Yeah, I'd seen that like years later, but I hadn't seen it at the time.
It's a big contrast to what they began posting when you were a fan.
Yeah. I must have became a fan around 2010. That's sort of when they were doing like a lot of comedy sketches, like the more well-known ones where they do like Pokemon in real life and stuff like that. And they did the Zelda rap. The Zelda rap was my favorite like video of all time for years. It's still definitely like, I couldn't name other ones, but it's definitely my top 5 YouTube videos like of all time. I love that.
It's very creative.
Yeah.
So creative. And they're huge video game fans as well.
Yeah, that also adds to it. I was devastated when they split up. I was like, that was like my girlfriend's a huge One Direction fan, and like it's probably the equivalent of when they broke up. Like when Smosh broke up, I was like devastated. I was like, are they done now? They're both doing their own things now. I mean, Ian's still on Smosh, but like it's a natural progression. It happens.
Yeah, and I think I wonder that. Like, do you think it's probably too soon to say, and it's always hard to say what the future's going to hold.
Yeah.
But do you think you'd ever like to pursue things in addition to YouTube in the future?
Possibly. It depends. Like, there is a lot of things. Like, I'll have maybe like 10 different things which I'll say I'm interested in, but those interests could die within 2 weeks if I actually did it. Growing up, I was like fascinated by like, paleontology because I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. So I was always fascinated with wanting to like dig up dinosaur bones, but that specifically. And that's what I mean by if I got into paleontology. I'd get the idea in my head, oh, I want to dig up dinosaur bones, but there will be a lot more to it. A lot of studying as well, passing exams. If I was to seriously consider doing something else, whether alongside YouTube or instead of, it would probably still be something media related at this point, because I do enjoy editing and like filming stuff. Regardless, like I've done a few cover shifts, I guess, for people who film and edit, and I've like enjoyed that even though it's not my own stuff. So it would probably be something media related. Maybe I'll start filming fishing trips. I don't know, but
yeah, that would be. Oh, okay. So I don't know if this is a thing in Scotland, but there are fishing channels that you can watch.
Yeah. We have a few fishing channels. I watch a lot of the American ones actually. They do a lot of bass fishing, which like isn't a thing here really because we don't have the same kind of bass. And I love watching those in the States. They go, I don't know the channel's names, but like one of them's out in Florida, and he goes out on like a little boat and like just like uses lures for them, and that like fascinates me. I love fishing channels.
Have you ever watched Deadliest Catch?
Yeah, I think so.
Where they catch the crabs?
Yeah. I've seen that show. I'm obsessed with fishing shows. There was one on Netflix a few months, or maybe I say a few months. It was actually last year. That's just like the COVID feeling. A year ago can feel like a month ago.
It does.
I forget the name of the show, but it was like just. I'm going on like a small tangent, but like it was just a show about tuna fishermen and like their life going out at sea for a few weeks at a time. And I was like, if I had a stable life at home, which I do, but like if I was in the situation to do that, I would totally go and do that for 2 weeks. Just be out at sea fishing, even if it's hard work. But yeah.
That is a cool field to consider. It's very common where I live. A lot of people are fishers or shrimpers. They'll go catch shrimp.
Yeah. I think anything like marine life associated, I would be interested in, even if that's just research. I don't know. A lot of them are things I would need to like dedicate time to, but there are a lot of things I'd be willing to do if the opportunity came up.
Well, I have to ask, because you brought up fishing in Zelda, what is your favorite version of fishing in the Zelda games?
It's Twilight Princess, without a doubt. And that's just it's so much more in depth than the other ones. Ocarina of Time's just like, with respect to it, it is just throwing a stick in with a big piece of like line. But Twilight Princess, eventually, you get one with like an actual reel, and that just like blew my mind that Zelda did that. You get the fishing hole, and there's different kinds you get to catch, and I remember for the first time, pike fishing's really big here in Scotland, and the UK in general. And when I found a fish called like the Hylian pike, I was like mind blown. Like they exist outside of here, and I was like so happy. I spent like hours just fishing there, catching the same fish over and over again. But yeah, it was really fun.
And I have to agree with you because it's so detailed. The seasons change each time you
I forgot about that.
Exit and enter the fishing hole, and it's just beautiful. The music is soothing. If you're having a bad day, fish in Twilight Princess.
Yeah, you could just sit there and listen to the music all day. It's a mood lifter.
So aside from fishing in the Zelda series, do you have any other favorite mini games that you remember playing that you really enjoy?
I enjoyed the mini game in the fishing hole in Twilight Princess, the little ball roll game.
Oh.
Yeah,
little
I think it was called Roll Goal in that game. It was something I was terrible at, but I really enjoyed it. Because eventually you get like a reward for some sort of lure from that, and it took me like a week to complete, even though it's like a 5-minute game. But it was worth the challenge and the frustration, the yelling, the almost breaking a controller.
It's really hard.
It is really hard, especially on the Wii. If you're using like the motion controls or the nunchuck, however it was, it is really hard. But it's a fun challenge.
It is fun. I'm a big fan of Salvatore in the Wind Waker with his squid hunt and the bombing one.
Yeah, I think I know the one. I haven't played Wind Waker in a while, but I know the minigame.
I also just think he's hilarious because he looks like he'd rather be anywhere else than at his job.
Yeah, I know the guy. That's a fun one.
And then and then he makes the sound effects like kabloo, splish.
Yeah, that's a really good one too. Oh, there was another one. That one in Twilight Princess where you like grab the cuckoos and you like jump off Lake Hylia, like at the top of it, and you've got to try and land on that thing. That's a really fun one too. Also frustrating at times, but fun.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot, but have you ever envisioned a minigame you would like to see in the Zelda series?
If I have, it's probably been fishing related, but at the moment I can't think of one. I probably have, and it probably does involve fishing in some sort of way.
Ooh, Adam, what if you had to fish in those rough rapids in Twilight Princess? Like
that would be pretty
fun.
fun.
To collect the fruit?
Like, I don't mean to go like all hardcore fishing knowledge, but like you would get a lot of good salmon and trout in a rapid like that. It would be really good to catch them. The first thing that came to mind when I mentioned fishing minigame is, I don't know what Americans say it is, but there's a thing called noodling, where like they try to grab catfish from their holes.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun.
My boyfriend and I were just talking about this last week.
Yeah.
Okay, so catfish. That's a big fish where I live. That's a delicious. That's a delicacy. Is that a delicacy where you live?
It's not really eaten here, but they are very common here. I can't remember if it's there or here, but somewhere they're an invasive species, and like I can't remember if that's here or there, but they're kind of seen here as a fish that people don't like, but people who actually fish love to fish for them because they're like really good, strong, big fish. They can grow insanely large.
They're big.
Yeah, they're big fish.
Well, if you ever come over here, you'll have to eat some fried catfish. That's a very popular dish.
Definitely eat fried catfish. I've seen videos on that on various YouTube channels. Videos where they go noodling, catch them, cook them. They show you how to cook them. I love fishing, if you couldn't tell. Like, even like catching them, cooking them, how to cut them, prepare them, how to care for them if you keep them.
Now, do you have a fish as a pet?
Surprisingly, no. Not at the moment. There's not really room at the moment. But because like I would want like a lot of space for fish and a lot of fish. But I do have a dream one day when I like own like a proper home for myself. I want a koi pond and a really big one so that they have space. But I do know it would cost a lot of money. A lot of money. Apparently koi are very expensive. Or can be very expensive.
They're beautiful though. I love those koi ponds.
They are beautiful. Like I cannot tell you how many koi Instagram accounts I follow. It's literally just different koi ponds, and I look at it every day, and like I send them to my girlfriend saying like, oh, this is the one we're gonna have. And it's like a different one every day. But it's cool. One day I'd like one, hopefully.
It's very tranquil.
Yeah, it's very relaxing. I like saw this one the other day, and it had like a sort of Japanese style bridge going over it, those little footpath bridges, and like I can't remember the words someone told me, but they told me it's very zen. I don't fully know what that word actually means, but apparently it's some sort of word for relaxing. And yeah, I would love to just like, especially after a long day of editing or something, I would just go out the back garden, look at the koi, sit by the water, think about fishing for them, but then realize they're pets. So
now do you eat any particular kind of fish? Is there a fish that you love to eat?
Typically it's cod or haddock, and I think that might just be I don't know if that's a British thing, but those are the most common here. But recently I learned to cook salmon, and I've been really hooked on that, both raw for like sushi and actually cooking it. So yeah, salmon's the current favorite, just because it's new, something different. I've learned how to do it myself.
So good. So
Yeah.
good. I'm going to get hungry after this recording.
Yeah, I was thinking about what I'm gonna make now. Might have like a salmon sandwich or something. I don't know.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Absolutely delicious. So, what are some of the topics that have you covered fishing on your channel, like fishing in the Zelda series? I feel like that's something you would have covered.
I've covered it more than I'd like to admit. Both on my channel and other channels. It's usually in list videos. Like, I don't think I've made a video specifically about fishing, but I've mentioned it enough times across multiple videos, such as I did a video saying like things I'd like to see in Breath of the Wild 2. And the first one on the list was I would like to see fishing, actual fishing. And I made this whole concept idea of Lurelin Village, the fishing settlement in Breath of the Wild. I made this whole idea how they're gonna take you on boat tours out into the bay and start doing fishing with you, basically. But I don't know if it would happen. If it doesn't, I'll be contacting Nintendo, but I would love to see it. And when I did a collaboration with someone, it was basically a video about things we love in Zelda, and they said, "Oh, just let me know what you're gonna do so it doesn't clash with someone." I was like, "Has fishing been taken?" And they're like, "No, you can do fishing." I thought you'd say this because they just know me well enough that they knew I was gonna say fishing. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, there's your mini game.
Yeah.
Guided
Yeah,
boat tour in Lorelin Village.
Yeah, that could definitely be it.
Where in the Zelda series would you like to go fishing? Lorelin Village or a different one?
If I could pick anywhere,
Any game, any Zelda game.
the Wind Waker, and anywhere in the sea. I'd like proper fishing in that game. Deep sea fishing is something I've like never had the chance to do, but I watch videos of it, and you get some interesting fish from doing that. Like tuna, for example. They're supposedly very strong fish, and I can see why. They're very huge. They're very fast. Swordfish as well. They seem like a fun one to go for. Yeah, I think the Wind Waker could be cool just because the sea's massive. You get more species. So I guess if I can say the sea as a whole, I would go with that. Yeah.
I can see that. I can see like with the fishmen that pop up, they can give you some directions.
Yeah, they could tell you what fit. Oh, that would be really cool if the fish change locations and you have to speak to them and they tell you where they are at the moment.
Like
and then you
hide
can
and
go
seek?
to their. Yeah, basically, you have to find which species is where. If the Wind Waker had seasons, that would come into it, obviously. But yeah, I could go on about this for hours. About how to develop a fishing system in the Wind Waker, and essentially it's going to turn into a fishing game with Zelda on the side.
What's that?
Yeah, it would turn into that if I thought too much about it.
Well, what are some other topics that you've covered on your channel?
I mean, theories are obviously the main thing, I think. I think anyone would probably say that. I like talking about ideas like the fishing stuff, but recently, one of the newer ones I've been doing is Zelda quizzes. I don't know if you've seen, I think most people know that I've been doing quizzes, which was a sort of experimental thing. At first, I didn't really know how it would go. It's something I've never really seen on YouTube. It all started because you get those like web quizzes where you just click a link and it takes you for a quick like multiple question quiz, and I was like, it would be cool to turn that into a video format. So I started with just titling something the ultimate Zelda quiz, and it was just 20 Zelda questions and like comment your answers as you. It was really fun, and the good thing about it is it's interactive. So since doing that, it didn't like blow up or anything, but it was very well received from the people who did see it, which made me do another one. I did a Breath of the Wild quiz recently, or maybe a few months ago now, which was also really well received. And I think I'm going to do one for every 3D Zelda game, so like a Skyward Sword quiz, Twilight Princess quiz, and so on. But yeah, that's probably the most out there idea I've done on the channel. Different from theories and ideas. It's really interactive as well, which was something I wanted on my channel. I wanted some sort of more interactive content, because people can comment on theories, what they think, if I'm wrong, if they're right, if they like it, dislike it. But quizzes are very interactive because people can tell me their scores, tell each other scores, suggest new things for future quizzes. I like it. I love interaction. That's something I've been like trying to bring out more. So
I've noticed that about you with Twitter and Instagram and your channel. You seem to try to respond to everyone who interacts with you.
yeah, there's like a small story behind that if we have like time to ramble on that.
Yeah, it's to ramble about whatever you want.
It kind of it kind of stems from like I was like from when YouTube started becoming a thing where people could do it as a job. I wasn't at that point, but I was fascinated of the idea of it, and like I would always like comment on everyone's videos like, I love what you're doing, I love this or that, or I used to comment saying like, can you say hi back to me? I was like one of those people for a while. It was wholesome at the time. I look back at it with a bit of cringe, but I always like, and this isn't any disrespect to anyone, but I always remember feeling so disappointed when I'd never get a reply. Like I rarely ever got a reply, and understandably, some of the channels had millions of subs, but even the smaller ones were sometimes a bit unresponsive. So when I started YouTube, I always like tried to make it a focus of mine to like respond to everyone, and up until about 100,000 subscribers, I did reply to 90% of comments, but it's at the stage now where it's maybe a little bit too much comments to deal with. So like I still try to respond to them all, but Twitter and Instagram is where I can really reply to most people because it's more manageable. Yeah, if anyone ever messaged me on Instagram or Twitter, like they'll always get a reply within a few days. But yeah, that's just a sort of goal I set myself, like always reply to people, because like I just remember being that person watching creators and always being like, oh, never gonna get a reply. So it's a good feeling to see that you can be that person to give the reply. Yeah,
I think it's interesting that you brought up the YouTube aspect of commenting and how it's more manageable on Twitter and Instagram, because a week or so ago there's a beauty YouTuber I follow, and she was saying how it was taking her 6 hours to reply to every comment on one of her videos.
Yeah, that's relatable. Maybe not 6 hours, but it would take me probably like an hour to get through, maybe 2 hours to get through like a new video that's doing like fairly well, to get through all the comments after a few days. It's a lot to deal with, but I try my best.
Yeah, I think I want to share some advice with you that I recently heard. I started a new job this year, and I was at my previous job for almost 8 years. And I'm a perfectionist. I don't like disappointing people. I like doing my best.
Yeah.
But someone at work told me the biggest lesson they learned is we give other people grace, so we need to give ourselves grace too.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and I think that's something I've like started to realize with like, as soon as comments got a bit too much, I think I was relatively quick to start realizing that, because I talked to people about it, like other creators, and they were like, if it's getting to the point where it's overwhelming you like need to realize that's like the point where you need to like take your foot off the pedal a little, and like relax a little, because it's only going to cause you stress eventually. And it's not stress that's like, it's like self-induced stress. Like it's not people are saying mean things, it's just you're committing too much time to one thing, which isn't anything against people commenting. It's just anything has potential to become too much, and that's not always a bad thing. If anything, it's a good thing that you're getting so many comments. It's just don't dedicate your entire day to that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you don't, I've dealt with this in my life where something I love, I hate to say it, but if this self-induced stress like you're talking about, if it becomes too much, I start resenting it a little bit.
Yeah, I can definitely get that.
And you don't want to get to that point. You have to set boundaries, and it's okay.
Yeah, it's that. At first, it was a bit of a learning lesson. Like I was a bit like, oh, I feel bad that I'm not replying to them or something. Because like I had a week straight where I didn't check my comments at all, because I like let myself get burnt out, and that's when I realized, like during that week of not looking at comments, I was like, okay, you need to take like a step back. Like still reply, but don't spend your entire day going through every single comment. So yeah, I took a bit of a step back with that, but it's allowed for like more time and like mental energy to go back into videos. Like eventually that would start coming away from them if I dedicated way too much time to just comments alone.
That's a full-time job.
So yeah, basically. Yeah.
What is a day in the life of a full-time YouTuber like? What is your schedule like? Do you have a schedule?
I want to say I wake up at 7 a.m., work from 8 till maybe 5, but like it's very unpredictable. I aim to like make it like structured but without stress. So there is a rough outline. I'll like aim to wake up between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. And if I wake up say at 9 a.m., I'll sort of relax until 10, get up around 10, brush my teeth, shower, all those normal morning things. And I always aim to start doing some sort of work by 11 a.m., but I never say this needs to be done in that order. I'm very much someone who will like have like 3 different videos open at once, like the scripts, and I'll do a bit for this one, a bit for that one, a bit for that one. I can't like focus on one thing at a time. I have a bad habit of sometimes leaving things to the last minute, but that's just like my process personally. But like, to answer the actual question, there is a good amount of structure. It's usually wake up around 10 a.m., try and start working by 11, whether that's checking emails despite not really getting many, getting ideas flowing. It might even be watching other creators, because like that sometimes gets like the creative juices flowing, just hearing other people talk about it. Not to like take their ideas necessarily, but just being surrounded in that environment. So like I'll usually catch up on other creators' videos in the morning, and by around 12 I'll try to start doing script writing, because I don't know what it is, but I'm always a better writer in the afternoon and a better editor in the evening. I don't know why that is, but I hate editing in the morning. I hate it so much. I don't think the brain's ready for it. But yeah, afternoons are usually writing and evenings are usually editing, but not often in the same day. It'll usually be maybe Monday, Tuesday I write, Wednesday, Thursday I edit. It's never usually write, record, edit all in one go. It's usually split up. I try to break it up so that there's free time.
That's smart. And so do you give yourself some time on Friday and the weekend to relax or research?
I try to. Usually Sunday is my day off. Like I usually end up working Monday to Friday and sometimes on a Saturday. Because sometimes like on the Tuesday or something, a friend will be like, do you want to go out? And I'll be like, yeah, I can go out. Because the job kind of comes with the freedom to be like, move your own schedule. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the time stuff will come up during the week and I'll be like, yeah, I can do that on Friday or I can do that on Saturday instead. Which is a good thing with this job, because with like we said earlier, a traditional job, you couldn't just be like your boss, oh, I'm going out tomorrow, I'll work another day. But like with this you kind of can, for the most part, which is always good. But there's never really too much of a set schedule. Usually there's 7 days. This work needs to be done within those 7 days. Do it when you like, as long as it's done.
So
that's kind of it for me.
So you post once a week?
Okay. Yeah, I post on a Sunday. Occasionally a Monday if I'm running late, but once every 7 days usually. I think that's more manageable. I have occasionally posted twice a week, but that's usually when a smaller idea comes up in my mind and I can make that in a day. Mm-hmm. I get a lot of 3 a.m. thoughts sometimes, and I'm like, that's a good idea, I'll note that down. And then the morning after I'll start writing. If I'm in the mood, I'll record it, and then I just sort of get on a roll, and I will edit that whole day, and then post that day. Usually the videos that are about 5 minutes long, they're usually made within 1-2 days, because they're small. They wouldn't make for like a full length video, so to say, but they would make for a good sort of like feature, like a feature film essentially. They're smaller, and sometimes people like that with videos. They like a little bit of a breeze, so to say, like it's something you can watch quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I think that's smart that you do it once a week, because it gives you time to really perfect the final product.
Yeah, I think that can change with creator to creator, because some people have editors, some people even have writers, but like for me it's I do everything. Like I do the ideas, the writing, recording, editing, And I think a week's a very good amount of time to do that. As long as there's an idea at the start of the week, which a lot of people are surprised, but like I never really run out of ideas because a lot of the time it's a combination of my own and fan ideas. That's part of the way I like to like interact with people. Like I will take people's ideas often, obviously with credit, but I think it's a good way to gauge what people actually want to see. If you take their direct ideas, that is what someone wants to see. Yeah, a week's a pretty good amount of time to get everything done. Yeah.
What have been your most well-received / most popular topics you've covered?
I do a small series called Secrets of Hyrule. Mm-hmm. And my video going out today, actually in 4 minutes from now as we record this, is part of that series. And it's based on Skyward Sword this time. But it literally is just a video going over 5 different secrets from like a particular game or the series as a whole, because that's something that kind of goes into that whole why lore fascinates me. The secrets within the lore also do. So the video will be out by the time this goes out, so like the video that goes out today in 3 minutes now actually goes over a little hidden musical reference in Skyward Sword. It's whenever Zelda pops up, this certain jingle plays, but it's also found in Breath of the Wild in the original Skyward Sword. So they basically took it from Skyward Sword, put it into Breath of the Wild, and now it's been discovered again in the remake. What's another secret in the video? I should know this. I like finished editing today. For example, like Groose in the game Skyward Sword, he has a punching bag with Link's face on it, but you'd only know that if you went into his bedroom. Yeah, it's just little cool details, secrets, references, so it's always fun. They're short, snappy, to the point. Yeah,
I love those.
That's my most popular.
I love those.
Yeah, me too.
So much.
Yeah.
What are there any challenges you faced in this endeavor to be a YouTube content creator? Any struggles? Anything that's been a hard time?
I don't think so much struggles with YouTube directly, but more of a mentality thing. For a while, I really struggled with knowing my content is good, and I still do to this day. Like I'll sometimes upload a video, and it'll maybe do a little bit underperformance compared to other ones, and I'll instantly be like, "You've lost it. You've lost it." So sometimes it's hard to remember that what you're doing is good. And me personally, anyway. So that's probably the biggest struggle, just knowing that the content is good. But at the end of the day, my girlfriend's really good at reminding me this. If you have literally thousands of people watching you, think about that. I think I came up with this metaphor, and then she like repeats it to me. But if you were to think of that many people in your house, they wouldn't fit. It's like that's how many people it is. So clearly people do enjoy it. I think that just comes with anything creative. You're always going to nitpick it and like see the small mistakes that no one else will see. But the biggest challenge would have been self-belief. But I like to think I'm at a point where I've gotten really good at that. I don't really question it much nowadays.
Wow. I think imposter syndrome is something that a lot of people deal with.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to have people like your girlfriend who encourage us and remind us of why we're doing this and how people do want to listen to us.
Yeah. I think it's kind of because I'm making the video and then like I don't go and watch my own video on YouTube itself. So a lot of the time I'm just like, why am I making this? But like I'll quickly remember like this is the reason I'm making this. And I think some people could take that the wrong way, like, what do you mean you don't like it? But like that can come with literally anything. And it's normal. It's not like a bad thing to be under. It's basically just like being under the weather for a day. It happens. It's normal. You eventually realize everything's fine and you move on. But yeah. I like speak to a lot of smaller creators sometimes who are like starting up and asking for advice, and like I always tell them things like that. If you ever feel like you're in a bad place with YouTube, you're probably not. In terms of like other people's views, it's probably just you seeing it that way, because maybe a certain thing's not gone the way you imagined. Which is why it is important to go in without expectations. There's a difference between expectations and goals when it comes to that. Goals are good, but immediate expectations can be bad in my opinion, because if they don't meet your expectations first time round, you are going to be disappointed. So like me personally, that could just be me personally, I only do long-term goals. I don't like to set short-term because I feel like there's too much room for being easily disappointed, whereas a long-term goal has less pressure, but in a good way, not in a I'm lazy and I'm going to take my time, more just you're not overworking yourself to get there. But yeah, I hope that made sense. It made sense in my head.
It does. That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like how you don't know where life's going to take you, and sometimes what you think you want to happen doesn't happen, and then something even better comes along. Basically. I like that. Focus on the goals, not the expectations.
Yeah. I think that comes into the whole, like, remind yourself why you're doing it kind of thing. Like, you're not doing it for, like, the views of what everyone else sees it. You're doing it for whatever you saw it as. And that's something I remind myself. Like, I'm not doing it to please, like, one particular viewer who said, like, you're not doing this. I'm, like, doing it because... Well, why am I doing it? Because I love it. Like, my mind blanked for a minute there. But yeah, I think it's important to remember things like that. So you talked about the challenges. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of creating this kind of content? I'd probably say fan interaction. That's something I've always kind of loved, like, just talking to people. Like, even when I maybe had, like, 100 subscribers, I loved talking to, like, maybe the one comment I got or the 2 comments I got. Even if it was just they said, like, I love the video, or I think this. I like fan interaction. I think that kind of stems from growing up. I didn't have many friends who were also into Zelda, so a lot of discussions I had with Zelda were either with my dad or people online, and I think it's all came from that. I'm just so used to, like, these conversations being with people online that the more people there are, the merrier for me. Obviously, like, being able to do it as a job is rewarding as well. That, depending how you look at it, that could be the biggest reward. But aside from that, the biggest reward would be, like, the interaction of all of it. Because at the end of the day, people, like, you do make videos for people to see them. You are doing it for yourself, but you're posting it online so people can see it. So the fan interaction is, like... And, like, when I say fans, I don't necessarily mean of me. I just mean of the series, like, other Zelda fans. That's, like, a very good thing, because you maybe wouldn't be able to, like, connect with that many people otherwise. So yeah, it's really important to me and rewarding. We met because of Zelda. I think it was the podcast, I think, with another Zelda podcast. That's probably still my favorite podcast, to be honest. Thank you. I would binge that podcast. Like, I would rewatch episodes that I've seen. As one of those shows. I remember I got my comment featured on it one time, and I was, like, over the moon. I can't remember what episode it was or season, but, like, I just remember one time they mentioned my comment, and I was like, that's me. Biggest moment of my life. Someone, we were taking some listener feedback, and someone had asked some of our favorite Zelda creators, and I remember mentioning you in that episode. Yeah. I feel like I might know that episode. Yeah, I feel like I do. There are a lot, and we actually just by the time this episode comes out, it's going to be a little while back. But David Geisler, Stephanie Klimov, and quite a few people from Boss Rush Network, and we all met at the Video Game Summit in Illinois, and we had a live Zelda quiz, and it was. I'm like you. I love the community engagement. I love interacting with people. That was fun. Yeah. That's super fun. I was actually meant to go to a convention this year, which was like my first one. I was gonna be on, like, an actual panel with a few other Zelda creators from Europe. I don't know if we were gonna be paneling, but, like, we were gonna be going as a group. But that kind of got cancelled because of COVID. But either at the very end of this year or early next year, they're planning to try the convention again. So, and at the time I had maybe 40,000 subscribers, so it's a sort of, like, you're pushing it to get into the convention as a guest, but now I'm like at 100k, which is like their mark you need to be at to be like automatically put in as a creator without applying, I think. So I'm hoping to go to that next year as like an actual creator. That would be like my first time doing that.
Oh,
I would just be scared I'd show up and people would be like, who's this? Who's that guy? That's the only thing I'd be scared of.
Well, if they do, they're gonna learn who you are.
Yeah, I'll bring business cards.
They're gonna find out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have any other projects or pursuits you're working on right now?
Me and my girlfriend do a podcast, which is called, I get them confused. This one's called Let's Talk Hyrule, and it's kind of going off the name of my other project, which is a side channel I do called Let's Visit Hyrule. So starting with the podcast, we basically just talk about Zelda, but a big theme of it is going on tangents, because we're both very much tangent people. So we'll maybe say like the topic for today is like we talked about what was the last thing we talked about? Like, we talked about shipping characters together as like couples one time. Like, we take a lot of comment suggestions, and that was one of them. And we're talking about that. That was maybe 20 minutes of the podcast, and the other 40 was us rambling about things going on in life. And like, I think that's what people actually like about it, from reading the comments. So we do that. We haven't uploaded in a month or 3 weeks because she's had exams, but after that we're going to be returning to uploading. And the other channel I run is called Let's Visit Hyrule. I always confuse them because one's Let's Talk Hyrule, one's Let's Visit Hyrule. I always confuse them. And that's basically, I guess you would say, cinematic shots from Zelda games, like just still shots of the world as it sort of moves by. I sort of upload them as like a backup for footage, and also because it's relaxing. I don't know if you ever see those videos where it's like 1 hour of Zelda music with like rain sounds. It's kind of similar to that sort of thing. It's basically like 1 hour of, I don't know, like Lake Hylia or something like that. So yeah.
I'm very familiar with those. I like to put them on in the background.
Yeah, I sometimes put my own on in the background. It's basically stuff like that. It was kind of inspired by seeing other people do it, but at the same time, it's something I had wanted to do for a while, and it doubles as like a backup if I never need footage for stuff. So it's like building a bank of footage at the same time. But yeah, it's a sort of smaller thing, but people like it.
I love it. I love the places of Hyrule. That's up my alley for sure.
Yeah, it's always entertaining, or relaxing more so.
Okay, so if you had to pick somewhere in the Zelda series, it doesn't have to be Hyrule, it can be anywhere in the Zelda series that you would like to spend a vacation, where would it be?
It's between two places, and I know the first answer instantly is the Snow Peak Mountains from Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
I feel like you could go skiing there, you could go ice fishing, and you could explore. Like, I'm very much a winter person over summer, so like that's instantly that for me. But other than that, I think I would like to go on vacation to... that's a tough one. I actually have to think about it. I want to say Death Mountain in Breath of the Wild, just because that's such a surreal thing, opposed to like being on land or somewhere that's normal. Like, that's such a hot temperature that normally you wouldn't be able to survive. Like, yeah, it's maybe not the same, but it's similar to like going to space. Not that I've been personally. Where you have to wear a suit to survive, basically. And I think just the experience of being on Death Mountain would be fun for a week. Seeing how a volcano works.
Would you wear that armor that Link has to wear?
Yeah, I would like to wear it.
Oh, it looks so heavy, but it looks cool at the same time.
Yeah, it does look really cool. It kind of looks like knight armor, but cooler, in my opinion.
I love that area. I love stumbling upon the skeletal remains of the...
Oh, yeah, in the lava.
And
yeah.
What are the... I'm blanking out the creatures with... They look like a cyclops.
The Hinox?
Yeah.
I don't... Everyone says it differently.
Yes, I love finding those huge skeletal remains.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Like, I think I mentioned earlier, but like because I like paleontology, especially growing up like dinosaur bones, that's a big like interesting thing to me. Whenever you see like, oh, there's another one. There's like rib cages somewhere in Breath of the Wild, and they sort of like go like that, and you have to like walk through the rib cages,
Yes,
and they're just towering over you.
they're okay. So they're in the
Yeah.
desert, but I think that
Yeah.
I think there are like 3 or 4 locations for them.
Yeah, there's a few different ones. But they like tower over you, like they are massive, and it like makes you wonder how big was the thing that like once was this. Like it must have been huge.
I know. Have you
Yeah.
have you done a YouTube channel on that?
I believe I've touched on it, and I know other creators have too, but I think I did once. I can't really remember. I should if I haven't. That would be really fun.
It's funny you say that because I deal with the same thing. As soon as I'm done posting something, it's like it was never in my brain.
Yeah, that basically kind of the same for me. Like, I think I talked about not the Hatenokar statue, but there's another one near Fort Hateno with like purple eyes, and it opens a shrine. I think you need to shoot it in the eye or something like that. I remember I talked about that once in a video, and after that, I forgot it existed. Like, I just wiped it from memory. Like, someone brought it up, like, a few days later, like, asking me a question. I was like, what? I don't remember. Like, I just, like, once I'm done with a topic, I'm done with that topic for, like, a month or two.
I know what you mean. It's like it's emptied out of your brain.
Yeah, basically.
Well, do you have any future plans for your channel?
Directly on the channel, not really. Basically, just keep doing what I'm doing, which I don't think's a bad thing. I think that's a solid plan. Like, I think I'm on the right track right now. Out with the channel, but still connected to it. I want to go to conventions more. Or in the first place, I want to go to conventions. So I'm hoping to like go to some in the United Kingdom and Europe first, and then maybe, I think halfway through next year they happen. The ones like E3 and PAX. I want to try and go to them one day. Flying that long scares me, because you're crossing a huge ocean, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
We just need to build a long bridge.
Yeah. Or do what they do between England and France. They have like a tunnel that goes under the water. What's it called? It's called the Euro train. It's just a train that goes between the UK and France. It's like a huge tunnel underneath the water.
Oh my goodness. Have you ever ridden on it?
No, I've never, but like I want to one day. Obviously, like I can't remember how I mentioned it, but a lot of people know my partner is German and lives in Germany currently, and like coronavirus has been like a pain with travel. And like I'm going over there next month by plane, but one day I do want to go in the Euro train just for the experience of going underneath the water. Sadly, it's not like an aquarium where you can see everything. It's like underneath the actual seabed, but it's still cool that they built that and that it works.
That's mind blowing.
It is mind blowing. That's like an engineering like genius moment, I guess.
Gosh, we need to have one of those connect the countries.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of European travel, because I know like to fly from here to the US is like 900, maybe 1,000 roughly in like pounds or dollars. I can't remember. But to travel around Europe is really cheap. It's maybe like, for me to fly to Germany and back, it was £200 basically, which is maybe like $250, maybe $280 roughly. So like it's not that bad. And once you're in Central Europe, you can travel country to country for maybe 30 to 50. It's like super cheap.
Wow.
Yeah, you get passes as well, which like you can pay for yearly, and that's like unlimited train travel. Trains are really big for travel here. So yeah, that's always fun.
Well, you better play Spirit Tracks, Adam.
Yeah, maybe I'll play it on the train.
Oh, that would
Maybe
be
I'll play Skyward Sword on the plane, then Spirit Tracks on the train. Wind Waker if I take a boat. I don't know. Just try and fit the theme.
This, as we're talking about this, what's your favorite way to travel in Zelda?
Oh, that's actually a good question. Horse is very like iconic and traditional, But replaying Skyward Sword recently, the Loftwing has made me realize how epic it is to fly in the sky. Even if it is a little empty, in my opinion, like there's not that many islands you can actually go to in the grand scheme of things. But flying in the sky and just doing circles around Skyloft is amazing. So I'd probably say Loftwing. That's my favorite at the moment.
How do you like the remake of Skyward Sword compared to the original version?
I haven't finished it. I'm very far from finishing it. But so far, I think it's actually like an amazing remake. I've seen a lot of people saying it's not enough, that there's not enough changes. But all of these small changes they've done have made it feel like a very good remake. Especially things like the speeding up the dialogue. I know in the original that was very tedious, like reading text at a set pace, and in the remake you can now speed that text up. That is a game changer, just because it makes the pacing a lot more fast, or at your own pace basically. Because I tend to be the type of person who reads quickly, moves on, but the original game wouldn't let you do that, so it kind of slowed it down for me.
I forgot about that in the original game, but you're right. And that's tedious for people who have played the game before and just want to move along.
Yeah. It is really tedious, but they fixed it, so it's good.
That's awesome. I can't wait to pick it up. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. It's good. I think it's like I have the Joy-Cons right here. They are very pretty. I don't know how well they're showing, but like they are very pretty. So I've been playing with them.
That's awesome. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, so we're talking about Skyward Sword, and I know this is something that you feature on your channel. I have no idea how I just thought of it, but I was thinking about how you feature snacks on your channel. Yeah.
That's a huge part of my channel now for some reason. It never used to be. Like, I did it as a one-off thing. Like, I think I just did it as like during the introduction of one video, I like just wrote it in because I couldn't think of like a catch line or something. So I was like, oh, go grab a snack or drink. Like almost making it like a movie intro. And after that, everyone was like, oh, I grabbed this and that. And like someone like started tweeting me like, oh, I did grab a snack or drink. And then I was like, I'm onto something here. And like I just started doing it for like maybe 2 months, and then one video I was like, oh, it's not really that cool, I think it's kind of lame. I missed it out for one video, and instantly my phone blew up with people being like, what happened to the snack or drink segment? And from that moment I was like, okay, it kind of has to be a thing now. At first I was a little bit like, oh, I don't like this, but now it's grew on me, and like I love it. It's like a channel staple, it's a catchphrase. It's really fun. I was actually like on a call with other Zelda creators the other day. We were like recording a Skyward Sword discussion, and we went for like a break to get a snack, and instantly, I think it was Mass Nintendo Bandit was saying like, do the line, and they made me say, right, go grab a snack or drink, because we took a break to go get a snack or drink, which was funny, but I was obviously a bit like, don't make me say the line.
Is there a certain snack or drink that you enjoy the most?
I don't know snack-wise. Probably just a sandwich with something on it. Like, I'm a big fan of, like, a plain chicken sandwich or chicken and cheese. As for a drink, it's a very, very Scottish thing. I think I have a bottle of it here. It's called Iron Brew. It's very hard to describe what it is because it's one of those things where it's its own flavor, so there isn't really something to compare it to. But from what I've heard non-Scottish people say, they say it tastes like medicine. But I don't think it does at all. I think it tastes like heaven. It's amazing. It's a soda. I don't know. It's a very Scottish one. Like, it's like the national drink here. It's very rare to find someone who doesn't like it.
Now, you said it. Some people say it tastes like medicine. Is Dr. Pepper a drink in your country?
Yeah, Dr. Pepper's a thing here.
To me, Dr. Pepper tastes like cough syrup. Is that what?
No, Dr. Pepper here is always compared to cherry Coke. Everybody says it tastes like a cherry Coke here. So like maybe the recipe's different. I don't know. I know some recipes do change a little, but Dr. Pepper is always referred to cherry Coke here. I don't know why. I'm not a fan of either of them, but I just know that's what people refer to as here.
Interesting. And what's the name of this drink again?
Iron Brew.
Iron Brew. Okay, because I was wondering if it tastes like Dr. Pepper, but if not, I
No,
might like it.
nothing like it. Nothing like Dr. Pepper.
I might like it.
It's for people. It's weird. Like for people who aren't Scottish, it's either like 50-50, they're gonna love it or hate it. But I rarely meet a Scottish person who like does not like it. Like I'll meet people who like will drink it, but it's not their favorite. But I rarely meet someone who says they don't like it ever. It's almost like you're weird if you don't like it here, like and you're Scottish. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with listeners? Any other accomplishments we failed to mention besides your YouTube award?
I got invited to do a talk by my high school once. I never did it because of COVID, but I guess that's an accomplishment. I thought that was really cool personally. Like my high school contacted me saying like, "Oh, we like hear what you're doing on YouTube. Do you want to come in and do a talk about how that's like a career now?" They didn't really seem to know what it was because they were just like, "Do you think you could like tell the kids what YouTube is as a career?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd do that." But then COVID shut it down. So I think the offer itself to me is an accomplishment. Being asked by your own former high school to come back and do a talk, to me that's like, it's big. It's big.
I think that's awesome. That's very humbling.
Yeah. I was excited to go back, but then like COVID hit and like no guests were allowed in. But other than that, it would be the play button behind me. I need to get it like on the wall soon. I'm either gonna put it behind my computer screen or like over there on the wall so it's in the background of videos. I don't know yet, but I need to get it framed eventually. They're a pain for dust. Like that thing gets dusty quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen your pictures. When I saw you got that, I thought he is so deserving of that. I'm so happy for him because he puts in so much work.
Yeah, well, thank you. Firstly, I don't know if it's wrong of me to say, but like I think it's very deserved too. Yeah, it's definitely my biggest life achievement. Probably will be for a while, but that's okay. That was my like one goal, like when I start, like one big goal when I started YouTube. Like I want one of those, and that wasn't even in a like this is my reason for doing YouTube. It's just I want to achieve that doing YouTube, and I did. So,
well,
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm like the cool kid in town now. Like I'm from a small village, so like everyone kind of knows everyone here, and like they're all like amazed by it. I actually like my mother's best friend's child is like young and like is kind of at that phase where she's like, I want to be a YouTuber when I'm older. That's a thing kids say now, and that's so weird to me that kids grow up saying I want to be a YouTuber. Like when I grew up, it was like I want to be a fireman or something like that. But now that's like a thing, and like I got like the chance to like go and show her the award because obviously like that will be so rare for like her to get the opportunity to see one of them in person. So I was like, yeah, I'll come around, and like I showed it off to her, and like she was like ecstatic, like I want to like do YouTube when I'm older. And yeah, I had like a small conversation with her, which was cool.
That is awesome. And you're right. How many opportunities is she going to have to see that up close?
Yeah, like the like to me it's more just like, oh yeah, it's achievable. But like I realized like a lot of my friends like that is like insanely rare for like that to actually show up near you. Like the amount of like if you asked like 100 people like, do you know anyone with them, the chances are they're all gonna say no.
I just
yeah, like
I've just seen people post their pictures with them.
Yeah, for me it was always like I've seen people with pictures, but like now I am the picture. I had a whole stressful time taking pictures with it as well. Like it took me 30 minutes to get a good photo, or a photo I liked, but it was worth it.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. Well, Adam, where can people find you?
Hopefully not my home. but on YouTube, it's just Hyrule Space Gamer. I hope it's the first channel that comes up. It always is for me. It'll be the Zelda one. On Instagram, it's Hyrule _Gamer _. I want to say that's right. That is right. And on Twitter, it's just Hyrule_101. Yeah, I post frequently there, and if anyone ever like contacts me, you will get a response. So, yeah, that's where to find me.
That's awesome. And listeners, you can find me on Twitter at FairyCrypt, and you can also find Boss Rush Network at Boss Rush Network to listen to other interviews with awesome creators like Adam. And Adam, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so excited for people who have been enjoying your content to get to know about you a little bit more and possibly some new fans.
Yeah, no, this was really fun. Like I told you beforehand, like, oh, I'm always nervous with these things, but like it's been really fun. So, thank you for having me.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Anything else you'd like to share?
Be kind and be respectful to people. That's an important message, I feel.
I have to agree with that. We could all use that a little bit more.
Yeah. I think everyone should keep that in mind.
Yes. Well, listeners, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.